Party game show. Wagering, everybody, talk the line. Jason McIntyre, Colin, Cowherd, and I'm Charissa Thompson. We are week 7 already, gentlemen. Week 7, Colin, Super 305. J-Mac, 4 for 1, my friend. I need to follow you this week for sure. You guys both, though, were hot on that Pittsburgh bet, and that paid out huge. Colin, you want that Baltimore one back? I know you do.
I do. That was probably my toughest loss of the year. Sometimes you're on the right side and you lose. Some like New England, obviously the practices hurt. I was on the wrong side. You could tell 5 minutes into that game, you're like, New England's just not. They just haven't had enough practices.
Well, who else was on the wrong side of everything? Our Super 6 contestants. But good news for everybody at home. We are putting the $1 million back in the hands of Terry Bradshaw and willing to give it away again. Nobody won this week. I know, Jace, you were 5-0 at one point. All you guys at home have to do is just download the Fox Super 6 app. It is free to play. You pick the outcome and the winner of the 6 games and the point totals, and you win $1 million. It's a great deal for everybody. So make sure you download that app. Make sure you do it by 1 Eastern this Sunday. Important. There is a deadline, folks. All right. So we've got 6 games in that. Are we going to show the games? I think we will. Yeah, there we go. We're going to, so you got Dallas, Washington, Green Bay, Texans, Panthers, Saints, Detroit, Falcons, Steelers, Titans, Seahawks, and Cardinals. Those are your 6 games to pick the outcomes on those. More on that a little bit later in the show, but let's get to what we're all here for, to get J-Mac's picks and Colin's picks on the week ahead. Big picture, let's take a look at the lines that Fox Bet has out right now, highlighting, again, this is a special week. We've got 2 Monday night games still to play, but these are the early lines so far. Let's jump right into it, gentlemen. The only 2 undefeated teams left in the AFC is who we'll talk about first, the Steelers and the Titans. You got 2.5 Steelers, 2.5 point favorite here with a point total of 52. Colin, who do you like and why?
Well, I like Tennessee. I think they're a really good team. I think they may be as well coached as anybody in football right now. I think they have a real identity. We have to be honest about Tannehill. He's a really good quarterback. I mean, when you watch the Jets situation, Tannehill was mostly a 500 quarterback with Adam Gase, who has really been a disaster with the Jets. And it makes you believe that Tannehill would have been a much better player and that we have just downgraded him based on those years in Miami where he was 42 and 46. But you look now and you're like, well, the Jets are the worst coach team in the league. So I think he's got a really good coach. I think situationally, Tennessee is very good. I also think Pittsburgh came off a really important emotional game. Will they pull back just a little? I would take the points. When you give me a team that's well coached and well quarterbacked and I get points, I'll take Tennessee here.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Vrabel's been incredible, Colin, one of the best coaches in the league at this point. But the only game I bet so far for week 7 is actually Pittsburgh. I think the loss of Taylor Lewan out with the ACL. You go into the game against the number 1 sack team in the league, number 1 pressure rate, I think number 2 in blitz percentage, and you down your left tackle. That's going to be a tough day for Tannehill, especially with TJ Watt on that side too. However, at the same time, Pittsburgh did lose their linebacker Bush, who's going to be instrumental in stopping, the machine that is Derrick Henry. Number 1 in the NFL in rushing against the number 1 run defense. This is a great game. I think the guy who turns it has the coolest nickname in the NFL right now. Mapletron, not Megatron, Mapletron, Chase Claypool, because he's from Canada. Obviously everybody loves Canada. So I like Pittsburgh here.
Yeah, you mentioned Derrick Henry. The Titans are 16-0 when he rushes for over 100 yards. But the Steelers, of course, only allowing opponents 3.3 yards per carry. We saw what they were able to do against the Browns, shutting them down as well, holding them to 75 yards rushing. So there's your Pittsburgh, Tennessee games. Again, Pittsburgh 4-1 against the spread this season. That's going to be a good one regardless. Moving on now, we got the Bears and the Rams. 5.5 points. The Rams falling last night to the 49ers. Point total in this one, 46.5. Colin, who do you like and why?
Sometimes you see a line and you just can't, it doesn't make any sense. I look at this and I think the Bears get 5.5 points. That tells me that the Rams are going to win. It tells me the line feels too big, that the analytics are telling you that there's something in the sauce for the Rams. I would take them. They also For the first time, McVay was critical of players. He's never critical of players. So it was a standalone game, and the Rams played like garbage last night. They'll come home. They'll play a really good football game. They'll be like Tampa after that Bears loss. They'll be totally buttoned up. So I think this feels like one of the stronger bets of the week for me. I would take the Rams.
You may have just flipped me, actually, because I was going in thinking, I do like the Bears defense, what they did to Bridgewater. The pressure just killed Bridgewater. 2 interceptions. He was terrible. And we know Goff struggles under pressure. Remember, I think it was 2 years ago on Sunday Night Football, the Bears just destroyed him and Goff could do nothing. But if you take the Bears here, Colin, aren't you buying them high, right? They're 5-1 off the Carolina win, and you're, selling the Rams at their low point, getting embarrassed on an island game. So maybe the Rams on the side. I will say I don't do a lot of totals, but 46.5 seems interesting, right? The Rams can be high octane. 4 games so far at SoFi Stadium, I believe all have gone under. So I would look at the under here at 46.5.
Yeah, and they do play well at home, 2-0 against home. And if Cooper Kupp makes a couple of those catches, that's a different game last night. Moving on to the Bengals and the Browns, another battle of Ohio here. We've got the line at 3.5 and the point total 51.5. Cincinnati, I met yesterday, messed me up against the Colts. Colin, who do you like in this one?
Well, if Baker Mayfield's healthy, I like Cleveland. Again, I think they're very capable. And they were humiliated. So this is an interesting one for Cleveland. Cincinnati played a really good first half against the Colts, but they're a really limited football team with a really gifted quarterback. I think Cleveland we have an identity with Cleveland. They struggle when Baker's uncomfortable. But when Baker's comfortable and they're running the ball and limiting his throws, Cleveland should win this game and control it. And I think this is the kind of run defense that Cleveland can control the line of scrimmage and the tempo. Baker throws under 27 times. And this is a personnel mismatch. Cleveland's got much better personnel. Let's not judge Cleveland on the Pittsburgh. Right now, Pittsburgh is a nightmare matchup for a small, marginally athletic quarterback. This defense is not applying that pressure. And I do think Cleveland's defensive front is still formidable. And I don't trust Cincinnati's front to give Joe Burrow a lot of time. So I think this could be a blowout. I think Cleveland could bounce back and really hammer the Bengals.
I love it. 100% agree, Colin. I think this is our Pittsburgh game this week from last week. And the pressure point you noted was great because as soon as Baker's flustered, boom, he just falls apart. We watched Cincinnati not able to touch Phillip Rivers yesterday. He had like 200 yards passing in a quarter. I mean, Rivers looked like a Hall of Famer, and I don't think they'll get to Baker. And if you remember last time, the Browns averaged 7.5 yards per play against this Bengals defense. They've lost now, I think, 3 guys to injury on that defensive front. So we're going to see Kareem Hunt go over 100 yards, Baker throw big time. And Odell Beckham, if you noticed, when things are going south on the sideline, he's like tipping over water jugs and getting angry and barking at people. He's going to have a big game. I like the Browns big here.
Reminder, you guys, this is a rematch of week 2. Remember, the Browns got the win in that one, 35-30. They didn't cover in that game from week 2. All right, moving on. We got the Bucs and the Raiders. Bucs looking good last night. They are a 3-point favorite, which is interesting. I want to get your guys' take on this, which we obviously are here to do, but this seems a little off. The point total on this one, 53.5. Colin, your thoughts?
It feels like a trap. I would stay away from this. I mean, obviously, Tampa's a much better defensive football team. I'm always a little reluctant to embrace teams when they're off the Sunday night game or a big national game, and Tampa's really feeling very good right now. And lost
another primetime game, Colin. This is going to be the Sunday night game next week, so we got another, big stage.
So I think I'd steer clear of it. The Raiders, I think, are a little overvalued after the win over Kansas City. If I had to take a side, I think I'd bet the over and Tampa. But I will say this about Vegas. They can make things uncomfortable at all levels. They can run it. They throw to their tight ends. They have perimeter slot guys. They can go over the top. So I think, again, the number doesn't look right. And it tells you that I think Las Vegas is looking at Las Vegas, the Raiders, and saying analytically, interesting matchup. This also to think about is that now that Vegas has a team, we're going to talk so much about the Raiders. I think you have to be careful. The Raiders have always been a little overvalued in Vegas. There's a lot of Raider fans in Vegas. A lot of money comes in on the Raiders whenever they show signs of life. I think they're probably a little overvalued here. So if forced to, I take Tampa.
I like that. I wish I could have a 3-5 here, 3.5 for the Raiders. That would have been perfect. I would have loaded up on that. I just look at the Raiders coming off the bye, right? And then the week prior against the Chiefs, they got healthy. They got Ruggs back and they got the left tackle back, Brown, and they were able to protect the quarterback and throw deep. Well, off the bye, I mean, I would assume everybody's going to be healthy, and that could pose a problem. Like you said, Tampa coming off the big win. 50 million people watch that game, and Tampa Bay, they're amazing. They're going to the Super Bowl. And I would lean Raiders here. That's my early look on this.
You know, we've talked about the Steelers' stout run defense and what Derrick Henry may or may not be able to do against them. You got to remember, Tampa has the best run defense in the league right now. And Josh Jacobs, will he be able to go? The Bucs were able to hold Alvin Kamara to only 16 yards at the beginning of the season.
Wow.
So that's interesting note to take into consideration there. Moving on, Brady's former team, we got New England and San Francisco. What's happening here with this line? We got New England favored by 3.5 and a point total of 45.5. And the last time we saw New England, they looked terrible. Colin?
If San Francisco's corners are healthy, I would take the Niners. What that line tells me is that New England's not going to score a lot of points. It tells me that Belichick will give Garoppolo trouble. That's your way to cover. And I think New England will play much better, but New England's now got an offensive line health issue. I don't see them as dynamic at all. I'd probably take the under on this. I think it could be low scoring, but boy, I would be really reluctant to think New England can mount a lot of offense against the Niners if the Niners defensive backs are healthy. They have no vertical threat. I mean, they really, N'Keal Harry can't separate. San Francisco, Garoppolo was healthier last night than the previous week, and he looked better. So if I get another 7 days where Garoppolo's a little healthier, I think San Francisco's perimeter weapons are really good. I think Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel are really talented. I would take San Francisco. Again, this feels almost like a trap. It's too easy. I think San Francisco is the play here.
I'm with you. This feels like another buy low, sell high, right? 49ers win on Sunday Night Football, and the Patriots completely inept. It looked to me like Cam Newton hadn't touched the football in weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, they were reduced, Colin, to dialing up multiple trick plays, like wide receiver passes in the fourth quarter against Denver. I was stunned. I was way off. I thought the Patriots would roll. I do think you're right, though. Along the lines of, hey, wait a sec. Jimmy Garoppolo was in New England for many years, okay? Bill Belichick knows what he can and can't do, how to rattle him, and maybe Garoppolo comes a little down to earth, but I think you're right, is leaning toward the under here. That offensive line for the Patriots, they got some problems. They got the COVID scare and then the injuries. Bill Belichick, by the way, did you notice how angry he was? He's like, we need to practice. Like, we're not going to look good if we can't practice. Like, kind of a shot at the NFL there. I would say lay off on this game and wait to see what's up with the Patriots offensive line.
They were also calling that game, San Francisco, last night for Jimmy not to get hurt. They weren't putting him in a position to.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was 17 of 23 completions were 5 yards. Oh, yeah.
Get rid of the ball. Also, you guys, it's worth noting, this is another trip for San Francisco to head back out east. They've been doing a lot of traveling, and I know they stayed on that New York Giants trip, but this is another trip for them into the Eastern time zone. Moving on, Packers, Texans, of course. Packers coming off that game last night. All the talk headed into the game, Aaron Rodgers, MVP. And Colin, you had a note worth addressing again, that Aaron Rodgers has never won a game when he's fallen behind. Such an interesting.
Aaron Rodgers has a losing career record.
Right.
If he trails at any point of a football game, which is a weird stat. Last 5 losses for Green Bay. They've been blown out in all 5. What does that tell you? They're very good when they're not physically challenged, when it's a finesse game and they're allowed to kind of do what they do. Houston will allow them to do what they want to do. This is my bet of the year. I love Green Bay.
Ooh, bet of the year.
I love Green Bay in this spot. Humiliated. The bye does nothing. I mean, Matt LaFleur, he's been awful last 2 byes. We have a clear identity, is that Green Bay is more of a finesse team. You give them good weather. It was very windy yesterday. You give them good weather. You give them a fairly clean pocket. This is a tough team. They've got excellent players, but they are not a physical team. We saw last year Philadelphia push them around, the Chargers push them around, the Niners twice, and Tampa. There are teams like Pittsburgh they are not going to match up well against. They're not going to match up well with Tennessee. You can see it. You can see who Green Bay is not going to match up well with. They match up very well with Houston, and they're going to get ripped all week. They were humiliated and embarrassed. I think the Packers are still very healthy, and this offensive line is a really highly graded O-line. They're going to have a lot of time to throw. I don't trust the Texans secondary. They had another emotional loss. Did the Texans. I love the Packers in the spot.
Yeah, and Fox Research gives me a number, Colin, to back you up. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers 10-0 against the spread after their last 10 ATS losses. So this sets up for a great spot for Green Bay. And listen, Houston's a good story with Romeo Crennel, right? He's aggressive. He's going for it on fourth down, going for the 2-point conversion. The defense gave up 600 yards to Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. Aaron Rodgers off the loss with Aaron Jones in the backfield. I expect them to control the ball for like 36, 37 minutes.
Watch this line move.
Yeah.
This is too good of a line.
It'll probably end up around 6, maybe. Now, Deshaun Watson is a good guy you want as an underdog. Didn't cover yesterday for me. That hurt. But I'm with you. I like the Aaron Rodgers here.
That was the only game I won yesterday. I think the Titans scored late. Okay, moving on. We got our Monday Night Football lineup. We got the Chiefs and the Bills. This is 5.5 with 54.5 total points. Colin?
Could not handicap this game all week. I don't know what to make of it. I like Buffalo plus 5.5. And the over, I feel no confidence with it. I think Buffalo is really well coached. I cannot figure out their defense. Schemes are the same. Coaches the same. Most of the players are the same. It was great last year. It's terrible this year. I don't have an answer for it. I think, it'll be wet in Buffalo. I think Buffalo plays a lot better. They were really pounded last time on television. But Kansas City played poorly last time out. I would take Buffalo here in the over. I cannot figure the Bills defense out. I don't understand how you can have the same players, same scheme, same coach. I love McDermott. They're a mess this year. They cannot get anybody off the field on third down. They may have the second worst third down defense in the league. It's bottom 3. Yeah, I can't figure it out.
Right before we went and started recording here, I saw that the Bills have benched 2 starters on the defensive line and called up guys from the practice squad. That is desperation. You can't get to the quarterback. You can't stop the run. I mean, I'm worried about the Bills, but I'm with you. I took them. I took the 5. It's up to 5.5 now. It's kind of a dead zone 5, right? Not a lot of games end on that. So maybe we see a 6, but there'll be buyback at 6. Obviously, you have to take Josh Allen and this offense with Brian Daboll lighting it up. The only concern, Colin, obviously, Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes off a loss. You get the better quarterback. You get the better coach. But yeah, I would lean to Buffalo and obviously the over.
Injury update there. Bills, no Tre'Davious White, no John Brown. For the Chiefs, you don't have Sammy Watkins. And, of course, their acquisition of Le'Veon Bell isn't active until the following week. So do what you want with that. I got a prop bet, though. And this one, folks, for those of you guys that are new maybe to the wagering space, I always like to suggest prop bets. It's low risk, high reward. A guy like Tyreek Hill, I think he will go over 5.5 receptions. He hasn't had 6 receptions in a game. He's going to go under 5.5 receptions. He has not had over 6 receptions in a game so far this year. And Buffalo only allowed 195 passing yards last game. So low risk, high reward with prop bets, and they're fun. Keeps you interested even if you don't have a dog in the fight for either one of these teams. All right, and then we got our second game. We got Arizona and the Cowboys. The line in this one, 1. And the total points 55. Of course, that line changing after the Dak Prescott injury. Colin, who do you like and why?
Love Dallas tonight.
Yeah.
Love Dallas tonight. I'm not going to say I bet a lot of money, but I just bought a new condo in Honolulu this morning.
Aloha and mahalo.
I love Dallas. I think the team will play inspired. Dak's out. They'll rally around Andy Dalton. I'm still not sure if Arizona can be very mistake prone. They're still very young. I don't love their defense. Chandler Jones out, so that gives Andy Dalton more time to throw. I think Dallas I think their weapons are substantial. And I think when Andy Dalton in Cincinnati had good weapons and he was simply asked to be a pass first point guard, he's a very effective thrower of the football. I said this to somebody the other day. You just ask Andy to make 18-yard throws to a moving target, a skills competition. Andy's really good. That's what Andy does. And I think I think Dallas's offense is going to look really good tonight.
You said that yesterday on our show. You were not concerned about plugging Andy Dalton in, which credit again to the Cowboys, unbeknownst to them, of course, an injury like this happening. But the signing of Andy Dalton in the offseason, it's a great viable backup to have in a position like this.
Yeah, there's games that Andy Dalton will be problematic when Dallas plays Pittsburgh.
A real defense.
Yeah, but on a team like this, when he can distribute with time, that's what Andy Dalton does. Carissa, he's 32 years old. Like, let's slow down. He's not shot. He could very much do a Teddy Bridgewater, where he could put together some really nice wins, and a team that can't get to Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields out of the draft is like Andy Dalton he's a 2-year contract. You win some games with him. He's reborn, by the way. We saw Tannehill reborn with the right team. So Dalton's a very accurate thrower of the football if he has a little time to throw.
So maybe the beige water pistol names retire tomorrow on the herd.
That's right. Last time, I met him in person one time. I felt terrible for saying that.
Listen, Colin's right. Dallas is the side. Personally, I cannot put my money behind that Dallas defense. I can't do it. I just refuse to do it. My after-tax dollars, I'm going to back one of the worst defenses in the league against Kyler Murray, a guy who won 3 state championships in high school in that stadium, who was dominant in a bowl game or in the Big 12 title game in that stadium. I love everything about Kyler Murray. He's on my fantasy team. That is a terrible gambling analysis. However, I am backing Arizona, getting a point in this one. I don't trust the Dallas defense. And when Kyler Murray wins this game, you're going to hammer Andy Dalton tomorrow on the herd. I'm here for it, Colin.
I don't have a fantasy team. Do you have a fantasy team?
No, because I want real money.
The fantasy money is real money, Carissa. It's all green.
No, any word fantasy in front of something, I'm out on. I like reality. I like real, tangible things. What is real and tangible, though, for that Dallas defense is they do get Leighton Vander Esch back. He was gone week 1 after breaking that collarbone. Will he be at full strength? Of course not, but he is back in the lineup, so a reason for them to be semi-optimistic.
I always felt that fantasy football players argue over the tip and bettors pick up the check. That's the difference.
That's did you just make that on the fly? It's not bad.
It's some bettors pick up the check. That's how we think.
That's incredible. I'm writing that down. Write that down. Somebody write that down. Okay. Also, too, again, I mentioned the prop bet. If you're new to wagering and you just want to have a little fun, I'd go DeAndre Hopkins big on this one. Because of the reasons, Jason, that you mentioned, this Dallas defense scores, especially on the back half, 21st against the pass. So I think D-Hop goes off to score a touchdown, over 6.5 receptions, and over 84.5 yards in that one. All right, guys, so we went through all the games. Now we got a little fan question. So, Colin, I'm going to direct this to you. This is from Oren. He said, with bye weeks coming up now in the season, is there a strategy you have to betting teams that are coming off their byes?
Well, if you have, it's really about your coach. I always feel this in college football bowl games. When I bet bowl games, I bet the coach, because 10 days extra time is really valuable to Andy Reid or Bill Belichick. But half the coaches in this league, Matt LaFleur, last 2 byes, his teams have gotten blown out. So I look at the coach, like a bye week. If I get an Andy Reid, I get a Belichick, Pete Carroll's been a little better than average. I'll take a veteran coach. It's just like certain coaches are really good at halftime. Pete Carroll's legendary, very good halftime coach. So bye week, look at the coach. If you feel he's a top 5 or 6 coach, that's the team I like.
Sean Payton off a bye this week?
Yeah, pretty good coach. Sean Payton off a bye, I'd bet.
I love that. So, Colin, you're going to buy a condo in Honolulu.
Yeah.
With your Dallas win. And the folks at home could buy a condo in Honolulu with their Super 6 win.
Yes.
$1 million right here, folks. Download the Fox Super 6 app. It is free to play. You pick the outcome of 6 games. Make sure that you download the app and get your suggested teams and wins, the points they're going to win by 1 o'clock Eastern. It is fun. It is easy. There is no risk in this. And you can win $1 million and be neighbors with Colin. Who doesn't want that? Jason, aren't you already neighbors with Colin?
We're close. I can't hit his house with a football, but Pat Mahomes could.
Okay. His Uncle Rico, somewhere over the mountain. Guys, appreciate your time. As always, this is Talk the Line. We'll do it again next week. Enjoy the Monday night games. Jason McIntyre, Colin Cowherd, I'm Charissa Thompson. Thanks for watching.